Today, the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship takes us from New York State to the Golden State as we're on the streets of Long Beach for what's expected to be an intriguing race for today's F3 competition and official iRacing action. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Joshua Lee with Hugo Ruiz in the producer's seat for today's action, with cameras provided by Istvan Balu for today's edition of the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. It was an intriguing start to the season at Watkins Glen International last week, Joshua, as we get ready to go racing on the streets and look to try and have the extra challenges that come with it.
Oh, and extra challenges is nothing short, Justin. There's so many extra challenges of Long Beach. I mean, you think about the differences between Watkins Glen and Long Beach. First of all, Watkins Glen was a purpose-built road course. This is built, like you said, on the streets of Long Beach. We're going here for 20 laps. Then we'll be at Suzuka, Hockenheim Ring, Alton Park, Spa later on in the season. But this might be one of the toughest courses on the calendar purely because of the bumps and the tight corners that comes with a street circuit.
We're taking a look at your schedule. Indeed, one of the most challenging races in the early portion of the schedule, especially when you include tracks like Suzuka, Hockenheim Ring, Alton Park, and Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps among the races that come up afterwards in the first half of the campaign. It's going to be interesting how these drivers prepare for this race in turn, Joshua, and how they perform as we take a look at your standings. With Felipe Drugovich coming away with the victory last week, he holds the points lead overall with 355 points over Dario Agnello. Rafael Camara finished off in third entering today's week of racing action, while Adrian Falcone will start in fourth in the standings overall entering today's action, Joshua.
Yeah, and it was a challenging race last time out for a lot of drivers at Watkins Glen. Felipe Drugovich here on the broadcast on RaceSpotTV was able to walk away with the win. Currently looking on the speed charts, he is around 10th place as he hops up to the top at the end of his second qualifying lap. A great run for Drugovich. He's looking to go back-to-back here on the broadcast.
And these drivers currently in the midst of solo qualifying, 8 minutes, 2 laps around Long Beach. And this track took years to be able to make its way to the iRacing service. It's one of the most beautiful racetracks as well on the platform. But you mentioned it with its bumps, how challenging this track is, especially the run through the fountain. And there are multiple different danger zones for these drivers today.
And you mentioned, Justin, how it took so long to get it on the iRacing service. It was, for the first early part of its life on the service, a tech track, which basically means it was unfinished, really just a scanned racing surface with some walls around it that iRacing allowed people to buy for $5, race it in leagues, but it wasn't ever used in an official series. Now it's all completed, sponsor banners everywhere, all of the scenery, all the crowds around the Long Beach street circuit, and now people can drive it here in the official series. As we see one driver hit the wall on the inside of that infamous final turn 11. That was Leonard Sherry hitting the wall on the inside there. That famous turn 11, full lock on the steering wheel going over to the right. That is going to be one of the danger spots. Like you mentioned, turn 1, a hard braking zone to the left. We have turns 2 and 3 at the fountain. Those are always struggle spots. I'm looking down the entire track map right now. It seems like every corner is a trouble spot. These guys need to be on it for all 20 laps, or else they're going to end up hitting into the wall. And we know with these cars, some slight damage can lead to some major problems.
Yeah, that run through the final corner in turn 11 for one of the early races, keeping an eye on, was actually where the race leader spun around at one point with the bumps in that section. It's Ralph Benitez trying to make his way around the circuit for his second time around. Ends up closing things out with a 1:14.648 for his session. Miguel Bento, among the drivers who have not set times in qualifying so far, he's zipping around the racetrack 16th quickest with about 1:10 to work with. What else should drivers keep in mind for a race like this today? Because it can be difficult to pass here, but it's also a track where we talked about incidents can be aplenty here today.
I think patience is definitely going to help a lot of these drivers. So we saw it at Watkins Glen. A couple of drivers were getting a little bit too impatient. They were going for moves before they were really ready. And especially, like you mentioned, Justin, hard to pass here at Long Beach. They need to make sure that they are patient on the passing and make sure to only do it when it's necessary and when they don't think they're going to be hit into the wall.
With that, 30 seconds to go in qualifying. Take a quick step aside. Your starting grid coming up in just a few moments. Dragovic on the pole today with a 1:14.378. That's the quickest time over Flavio Dantes, who finished off in second in qualifying at 1:14.423. Jose Kaplan starts in third today alongside Dario Agnello with Pablo Traita in fifth position. Ralph Benitez will start in sixth with Adrian Falcone in seventh position. Suzuki Hanzawa, I should rather say, in 8th position. Tiago Spencer in 9th. Matt Emery rounding out the top 10. Leonard O'Sherry starts in 11th with Matteo Calestani in 12th position. Claudio Visparelli will start in 13th with Donato Gargisio in 14th. Alex Cervello Yato will start in 15th with Miguel Bento in 16th. Brandon Racer along with Eduardo Lorente, 17th and 18th. Ben Cullen, Chris Robinson, who just took part in an Indy Pro 2000 race, and Carl Cranswick, the 21 drivers who are making their way to the starting grid. These competitors making their way for the standing start. 20 laps your distance today. Street circuit distance 1.9 miles, 11 turns around the streets of Long Beach. Today's weather conditions: 23 degrees is the air temp, 33 degrees Celsius is your track temp. That's 91 degrees Fahrenheit for reference sake. 50% humidity. Winds currently gusting at about 8 to 9 kilometers per hour. As well, that's currently to the west. All the drivers just about set to go. The final few moments on the clock as all the drivers have made their way to the starting grid. already. Green lights are out. We're underway from Long Beach. And not the best start from Dragovic, in fact, as Dante is able to get the run to quickly take away the lead. Already under attack by Agnello as well. 3 wide for the race lead into the first corner. Near contact as it's sent in by Dantes to hold on to the lead as several drivers having trouble heading off from the fountain, including Dragovic. Dragovic is into the tire barrier at the edge of the racetrack.
Ben Cullen, Thiago Spencer, the two involved in turn number 1, but disaster for the pole sitter and reigning race winner Felipe Dragovic in the fountain, and he has damage. That is going to spell the end of the race for the 3.
Massive suspension damage for the number 3 machine. That's going to really hurt him in the early point standings as he spins it around. That may spell the end for Dragovic potentially for this race. Spencer and Kaplan were also involved in early trouble in this race. Agnello is up to second. Benitez up 3 positions. How about the 10 machine, though? Already up 7 spots. That is Calistani, who is up those positions. Pirelli also up 7 positions, as well as the drivers complete the first lap. A wild first lap as well.
Dantas doing an amazing job getting away with the lead early on here. Agnello in second, then it's Benitez, Falcon, and Calistani that round out your top 5. But like you mentioned, Justin, a wild first lap. Everybody was trying to gain as many spots as they could off of that standing start. It worked for a handful of drivers. For others, it didn't. For Visparelli, he's already up 7 spots. His issues for Paulo Dreza.
Ended up hitting the wall on the right side. As we mentioned, the challenges of this racetrack, the sub-racing competitor having those challenges pop up, and now leads a train of drivers as a result of that incident for 11th on back. In fact, going to let by one of them. Let's take a look at what happened here to Dragovic.
It looks like a little bit of contact with the car behind sent him backwards into the tire barrier. Unfortunate for Dragovic. We know he had a very dominant race car. Unfortunately, not going to be able to show it here at Long Beach. Side by side, Laurenti on the bottom of the racetrack in the number 21, trying to go up the inside of the 13 of Ben Cullen. Now he'll stay in the slipstream, working down the straightaway on East Seaside Way, down towards turn 9.
Heading off towards turn 10 and 11. Once more, these competitors will go as one driver has missed the final corner completely. That is Leonard O'Sherry, who has missed that spot and has had to put it on the tow truck. Already 4 different drivers have had to come to the pit lane for tows, and another 2 have rolled their way into the lane, as we see just has an issue. You see front wing damage on that car.
We mentioned the struggle spots on this racetrack, and so far every incident we've seen have been in one of those struggle spots. Turn 1, the fountain at turns 2 and 3, and turn 11. This track is showing that it is going to be not only a race between driver versus driver, but driver versus track to try and even finish the race and have an opportunity to take that checkered flag. Right now, Dantas is doing an amazing job of holding on as Dario Agnello sits in second place, only about a second behind. Here's what happened to Sherry. Just went a little bit too wide at turn 9, slammed the tire barrier, slammed the wall. Looks like he might have gotten a little bit of suspension damage off of that too. He sent it into turn 11. Couldn't even make the corner for turn 11. He had so much damage on the front.
That means we have 16 cars running. The 11 machine ended up getting damage repairs, and among the drivers through the charge of all the incidents and attrition, Carl Cranswick. He is now up to 11th position, plus 10. That's your biggest mover of the race as a result.
Another one of those drivers that took advantage of that standing start, was able to make up a couple of spots. He looks to the inside. Or sorry, the 16 is going to look to the inside of him, looking for the spot. You're on board with Miguel Benzo, the 18. Trying to fight for that 11th spot on Carl Cranswick, but also looking at Chris Robinson in the 16 behind. 4-car battle actually here. Ben Cullen in the 13 joining him for the battle for P11.
Miguel Bento, known for his skills on both the road courses and as well on the ovals, runs a lot of stock car races as well as open wheel action on the iRacing service. He's up 4 positions so far in 19 seconds behind your race leader, which is a 3-car breakaway at the moment, separated by 1.6 seconds as these drivers make their way down East Seaside Way off in the turn 9 once again. And this is going to be the tough part now, trying to set up passes without getting into the back end of cars because of how tight these corners are, but also the potential of the arrow coming into play.
And there's a handful of straightaways that they're able to do that. East Shoreline Drive is one of them. They can get a good slipstream and try and pull out and not affect any of the lap cars around them. West Shoreline Drive coming off of turn 5. Not the longest straightaway on the racetrack, but still a passing opportunity heading down into turn 6. East Seaside Way, the second longest straightaway, along with East Shoreline Drive, the main straightaway that drivers can make moves on heading down into turn 9. They're making their way through turn 5 now. This is West Shoreline Drive here under the bridge and making their way into turn number 6. A little bit of a side road here heading down South Pine Avenue and into turn number 8. When we mean the streets of Long Beach, we literally mean the streets of Long Beach. This is weaved right on the Long Beach waterfront, right by the aquarium, right by a lot of tourist destinations in Long Beach. So this track is smack dab in the middle of the city, and it shows, Justin, when you're racing on this track. You can see everything around you, but we've mentioned the bumps so much. It's because it is a city roadway that is used every other day except for the Long Beach race weekend.
Yeah, it's such an exciting racetrack too when the real world action comes to this racetrack. And the tough thing with the bumps, especially down this long front stretch down East Shoreline Drive, I've noticed though, is we talked about this at Watkins Glen, how frequently these cars can bottom out. They're bottoming out a lot as a result of the bumps down the main straightaways.
These drivers are setting their cars up. This is an open setup race, so that means that these drivers can choose whatever setup they want to throw on these cars. And that leads to them trying to get them as low as possible. Low is fast in these cars. They don't want a lot of air going under these F3 race cars, so they make them as low to the ground as possible. But that can lead to bottoming out, like you mentioned, Justin, going over these bumps. It's like going over a jump in a rallycross car almost for these cars. They're so low, very low in suspension as well, so they just kind of hop up on the into the air and slam back down onto the racetrack. Not good for the floor, could possibly get damaged there. Not good for the racing, as diving it up the inside going into turn 11. That was Miguel Benso on Ben Cullen to grab the spot.
Ben Cullen actually passing Chris Robinson there, but either way, an exciting move in that final corner after Robinson lost some momentum. Also, Bento, he's now wanting to take a spot back, going the long way around in towards Aquarium Way. Not able to make it stick, though, on Cranswick. By the way, things have become very active up towards the front because Agnello this lap had some problems. This was right behind the leader and right into the tire barrier.
Another one of the drivers getting caught up in turn number 1. He got caught up on the fountain too, got a little bit too much on the curb, possibly on that decoration of the fountain there on the inside. We go back live, battle between Ralph Benitez and Adrian Falcon. Benitez trying to hold on to P2, and you can see Adrian Falcon in the 1. Highest I rating out of anybody in this lobby, trying to use the slipstream to catch up to him. Can't catch up too much down the main straightaway. 2/10 separate the two as they go into turn number 1. He'll dive it up the inside. What a move from the 1. They make contact into the tire barrier. Goes Benitez, but into second goes Falcon.
What a move there from the number 1 car. Ended up making contact with the left front tire of the number 4, and that machine is not going to be happy.
The slightest bit of contact too. It was just a little tire tap in between them as he tried to get the move completed. But Falcon now up into second, 3.4 seconds still from your race leader. He has a lot of work to do and not a lot of laps if he wants to run for this win. But we rejoin the battle for the 10th spot on the racetrack, on board with Ben Cullen in 11th, trying to get by Carl Cranswick.
A lot of fan support, have to say, for both of these drivers, especially for Cranswick right now at the moment. Carl Cranswick, based in the UK. Ben Cullen continuing to apply the pressure. We are now down to 13 drivers without major incidents in this race. Side by side, Ben Cullen makes the move. A nice, impressive pass as that makes it a +9 for Cullen. Keep in mind, Ben was among just 3 drivers who didn't qualify, and all those drivers have gained several positions as a result of the early attrition for the race leaders.
You talk about attrition right now. The drivers that are still on the racetrack are just trying to stay on the racetrack after everything that has happened in the first half of this race. We're barely reaching halfway done. There still is a lot of racing left to go as we go back on board with the 20 of Carl Cranswick, trying to close that gap now back to the 13 of Ben Cullen, who has come alive here in the last couple of laps, almost tapping the tires coming out of turn number 5, though the 13 got a little bit loose.
I think he just about avoided significant contact with the left rear tire as a result of that, as Bento now trying to pull away in the 9th position with all of this. It's 27 seconds back of the race leader, but it has been incredible to see how this battle has shaped up amongst these competitors. Now the run, Chris Robinson sends it in, they get contact. Cranswick now stuck alone with him along the edge of the racetrack. One driver having a dodge.
They get stuck together, having to try, and one car going to finally tow to get out of the way. But it was a send to the inside for Chris Robinson. He got loose, tapped the curb, and they end up colliding and getting stuck together down there in turn 9. Heartbreak for 2 amazingly fast drivers. One car able to continue on, but man, what a incident down there in turn 9 as we grab a look at Miguel Bento now trying to run away in P9. Here's the replay of the incident.
Yeah, you see a very optimistic move. And right here is where trouble ensues, and I don't think I've seen this one before.
It was a little bit too optimistic. He had the opening there, but it closed incredibly too quickly. Just got a little bit too loose with the air shifting around him, tapped the curb, and I'm not surprised with the new damage model, that these cars can get stuck together, especially in the correct way. I believe in the old damage model they were able to get stuck together too. Incredibly rare, but I think it definitely is possible. A lot like when 2 go-karts would get stuck together if you ever go racing.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. And unfortunate for them, that's going to mean both of them have had to move on. Cranswick in particular has had to put his car on the tow. As we look now at the battle for 5th position, Matt Emery, we haven't mentioned his name too much, has been having a very quiet race, a +4 for him. Looking to close up on this Pirelli.
Tend to go now over halfway done for these drivers as Dantas will come across the line this time by. Go to 9 to go as we stay on board with Matt Emery, up 1 spot, sorry, 4 spot, yeah, 1 spot from where he originally started the night. So good day so far for him, net 1 spot up, but he's looking for that top 5. Vispirelli up ahead of him in the number 12 machine. He'll get close, not close enough, but he will be in a good position for the slipstream as they start making their way onto the main straightaway.
The North Sim Racing machine looking to pull away as here's the viewpoints. One from the look ahead, one from the look behind. Last time by, 3/10 quicker for Matt Emery.
Still trying to stay in that slipstream. Here as they go through this fountain section, this is the slowest section of the racetrack and one of the toughest to get right and to get the power down, especially this straightaway right here. If you're familiar with driving the Indy cars here at the Long Beach Street Circuit, that one little short straightaway in between turns 4 and 5, one of the toughest to go full throttle on the entire track. The 7 able to keep close to the 12, just not able to close the gap close enough to be able to make a move. Let's see if he can, coming down East Seaside Way. back in the draft. And you can see the 12 pulling a little bit of IndyCar tactics, trying to break the draft is Visparelli. Emery not close enough this time going into turn number 9. Let's see what he can do through 10 and 11.
Emery really trying to charge that corner that time. So now you see from above just how tight that final chicane can be in turn 11 to try and make your way back down East Shoreline Drive. So many chances for drivers to bobble around and get loose, especially as the fuel gets lighter in that section of the racetrack. It's Emery not able to close up with the draft to get to the back end quite yet. Last time by, they were near identical with lap times, in fact, in this battle for position.
Oh, and you can see the 12 of Visparelli getting a little bit loose up in front. That is not what he needs to try and hold this spot off.
Yeah, this is not what he's going to want to see and want to have happen right now with this pressure still from behind. Emery within a car length still in this battle for 5th position. And noticing they're trying to go a bit more to the inside down the straightaway, try and break a little bit of the toe as they go back towards turns 9, 10, and 11 into that complex once more. Emery a little bit closer this time from before, and Emery taking a wider arc this time, trying to get the run.
Not able to do it once again. Down East Shoreline Drive, the main straightaway. It'll take 7 laps to go. It's the same story that we've kind of seen last week at Watkins Glen as well in these F3 cars. They can get close. They just kind of hit a wall, and they cannot break that wall down to get any closer to make the move happen. So they're kind of just staying. It's about 4/10, so that's kind of where they're staying right now. About 4/10 away. Not able to really close his Emery, but he's not letting him get away either. So if he's able to close at any point, or if the 12 makes any major mistakes, or even a minor mistake, he'll go right back into the clutches of the 7 to hopefully have Emery get around for a pass. Because that is all Matt Emery wants right now, is just a little bit of a mistake, a little bit extra speed to try and get that top 5.
Also very critical for the stat lines too, and especially for the points, keep in mind. Those top 5 runs, especially when you have an SOF as of today at 3,596 for our competitors, as they will come and take 6 to go this time by in this battle for position. Bit of a tire lockup, in fact, for Visparelli that time. Now losing a little bit of time. Keep in mind, they do have traffic coming up from behind as well in Spencer. That may play a factor in this grouping.
Back into turn number 1, a little bit further up. Benitez was able to close a little bit of the gap on Adrian Falcon and starting to lose it back again. Remember back a couple of laps ago, Falcon made a good dive to the inside on Benitez, sent Benitez into the tire barrier slightly, but not that much damage to the 4. He's able to keep going. Now taking a look at this battle in between the 12 and the 7. The 7 was able to close a little bit more, just still not close enough to be able to make anything happen, as Matt Emery still right on that back wing, trying to find any possible way around. He's just stuck right now in one place, can't go anywhere.
Just draft locked, it looks like, almost. As you see from the front wing how close he's getting, how close to the ground he is. But a little bit of a better run that time. Near contact for Emery, in fact, as he takes it wide into the final corner.
Trying to get the power down coming out of that final corner, turn 11. He wasn't able to get it down quick enough to get as much of a run down the straightaway as he would have liked. He's still got a run in the slipstream. He's going to pull out to the outside going into turn number 1. Will he be able to complete the move? Matt Emery on the outside, not able to do so. Looks for the crossover coming into the fountain.
Keep in mind, Emery's got end plate damage from that contact in the last sector, so that's going to hurt his opportunities to try and make this move compared to the fresh front wing still on the 12 machine. That traffic is also coming in quick from 5 car lanes back in Spencer. So one of the sub-racing cars could also be a factor. Keep in mind, Spencer's 17th position, several laps down, is now joining this fray.
Visparelli now trying to just hold on. He knows that 7 can close the gap. Is he going to be able to close it enough? Down the straightaway into turn number 9. They'll take 5 laps to go this time by, or sorry, 4 laps to go this time by. Emery right behind on the back wing. Can he do the same thing he did in turn 11 this time? No, he can't. He'll stay right in the tire tracks, right in all the rubber laid down on the racetrack, stays in P6.
Yeah, that damage is really hurting him right now in those corners right now. It's the matter of can he regroup despite the end plate damage. You see it a little bit on the right end plate. Nearly into the barrier that time was RaceSpotTV in this battle for position. The race leader, keep in mind, has reached traffic. It should be worth noting it's still a 2-second gap between the race leader and Falcon. RaceSpotTV getting very close to the barriers as we now fall on board with Emery.
You can see exactly what he is looking at right now in his sim rig. And you can see also how low these drivers sit in these F3 cars. Most of that screen taken up by the car itself. It's very difficult to see, especially close to the ground like this. And you can see him getting a little bit loose coming out of these exits. He's trying to get that power down all that he can. Into turn 11, first gear, full lock on the wheel to the right. Just not able to get close enough to make the move.
Yeah, that's going to be much more and more difficult as this race goes on with that damage in the closing stages. Under 3 to go. Race lead, by the way, is down to 1.8 seconds with the help of traffic. It's the question of, can Falcon get up to the race leader now in time to make it a scrap? He has been quicker by a few tenths the past few laps as well.
So those leaders also reaching a handful of clean air, by the way, Justin.
Absolutely. So it's all going to come down to the driver skill as well in that battle. As we still follow along with this battle that's also in clean traffic for the next 2 laps.
Down the straightaway of East Seaside Way goes Emery and Visparelli. They have been sparring for basically the entire last half of this race now, trying to settle it out between these 2 racers. Emery was able to make another look to the inside. There's a little bit of a mistake from Visparelli. He got a little bit too much on the curb. Out of turn 11, a much wider entry, middle, and exit for the 7 of Matt Emery. Visparelli going right on the bottom of the racetrack there through the corner. Down the front straightaway they come. Can Emery make any move? Covering that inside line is the 12. He'll look to the outside. Can he make it happen this time? He'll cut back to the inside, stays in line. He wrecks himself in turn 1.
I'm not sure what the thought process was there as he tried to dive into the inside. That was not going to work in that situation, and Emery costs himself a top 6 run. Ben Cullen has already driven on by. Miguel Bento will drive on by. Emery already back to 10th. Let's take a look one more time.
He was trying to find any possible way around it. It looked like he might have just corrected that steering a little bit too quickly. Car completely lost grip, and around he went hard into the wall as well. Entire front wing off as Flavio Dantas takes the white flag.
Final lap separated by 1.75 seconds. He picked up some ground in the clean traffic. They also have 3rd place, who is the fastest car on the racetrack by a couple tenths a lap, 3 seconds behind. And since the start, it's been intriguing. We've seen trouble for your race leaders in the early going. And since then, Dantas has been able to keep himself out of trouble and keep the car clean. Now just needs to close it out for a couple more sectors, Joshua.
And he has had a perfect race. After the incident with Felipe Drugovich in the fountain from the first lap of this race, he has gone from there, led every single lap since, and now is looking to have a walk-off victory, a 1.6 second victory. Not too shabby for Flavio Dantas, known in the Formula 3 community and the open wheel community of iRacing. He's looking to grab the win here on RaceSpotTV.
Several drivers having trouble in the final corner, but that's not going to matter for your race win. Dantes weaves his way around. He takes the checker flag and wins at Long Beach. Falcon in second, 1.1 seconds behind. And Benitez will finish in third in what was an intriguing podium. Couple more battles still in process right now, including this one. You see it's starting to separate out for the final lap. This will be the last among the last cars crossing the stripe for the 11th position. Hanzawa holding on in front of Chris Robinson.
Can Hanzawa hold on for P11? Robinson had troubles earlier on, if you remember, in that number 16. Rebounded fairly well. He's going to end up at least with a 12th place finish at the end of this race. Not going to gain one more spot on Hanzawa. Can Hanzawa gain one more spot on Lorenze up the road?
It's going to be close. Near contact with the back wing after closing up a lot of time this lap. The 21 is able to hold on, though, for a top 10. Zawa will finish in 11th. Chris Robinson, the last of the drivers to come across the stripe out of 21 entrants. We were expecting attrition to be one of the main focal points, and we've seen attrition be one of said focal points in this one. Dantes, though, was able to overcome some of the trouble for some of his competitors to come away with the victory today by 1.1 seconds. Falcon was closing the gap, and quickly, though, he closed it up by 6/10 in the final lap alone. Benitez finished in third position. Cavastani second, finishing in fourth. Fisparelli finishes in fifth position from 13th starting spot. Quiet run for the 17 machine, finishing in sixth, starting off in 15th spot is Alex Cervello Iedo, with Donatello Gargisio in seventh position. Fan favorite Ben Cullen finished in eighth today, with Miguel Benito ninth, and Eduardo Rente rounding out your top 10. Rounding out the drivers on the lead lap, Sensuke Hanzawa and Chris Robinson, with Matt Emery finishing one lap down with significant damage in 13th. Achinello finishes in 14th, 2 laps down. Jose Kaplan 15th, with Paulo Dreita in 16th. Spencer in 17th. O'Sherry 18th position. Carl Kranswick. Felipe Drugovich with a big position loss of 19 positions to finish in 20th, and Brandon Reeser, early troubles, 13 laps down, 21st position. An exciting race today with some exciting battles once more in the mid-pack, but a lot of pressure was shown and held on to in the end by the race leaders. As that gap started to close up, it was as much as 3 seconds at one point, that race lead, Joshua.
It was a perfect race for Dantas, and I mentioned he is one of the staples of the top split here in the Apex Racing Academy official F3 championship, and he knows his way around the track. Same thing with his brother Felipe Dantas. They are both super quick in these cars, and Fabio showing that today. But Adrian Falcon, a great day for him as well. He'll finish in second. 2 great drivers in the top 2, and you go down the order. A lot of drivers that were struggling at the beginning of the race came alive at the end of the race to walk away with some very good finishing spots.
It led to some exciting action and some drivers with some big position gains as a result. But keep in mind, next week's action is going to be very intriguing as well for the series. For these competitors, they'll be getting ready to go racing once more at Suzuka for the third round of the season, 15 laps.
And Suzuka is another one of those purpose-built road courses, but it's so challenging. When you go to the first sector, a lot of winding S corners. You go to the second sector, a lot of slow off-camber corners even, and then you go into the final sector, flat out down to the final chicane. It is one of the most challenging and one of the most historic Formula 1 circuits on their calendar. It's going to make some of the most exciting racing that we'll see on the Season 3 schedule for the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship.
With that, it's time to say goodbye on that note. An exciting race today from Long Beach here on the iRacing service for the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. But it's time to say goodbye. For producer Hugo Ruiz, for Istvan Balu, for Joshua Lee, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. Congratulations to Flavio Dantes, your race winner by 1.1 seconds over Adrian Falcon.